First of all, it's good that Western leaders are watching and listening to what I say. If today, for some reason, we are unable to hold direct dialogue, then we should be grateful to Mr. Carlson that we can do so through him as an intermediary. But it's bad that Western leaders cheat and distort what I say. Why? I didn't say anything like that. I did not say that the start of our special military operation in Ukraine is connected to the threat of a NATO attack on Russia. Where is this in my interview? There is a recording. Let them show exactly where I said this. I was talking about something else. The fact that we were constantly deceived in connection with NATO's non-expansion to the east. By the way, this was said primarily by the then NATO Secretary General, and he was a representative of Germany. He said, not an inch to the east. Then we saw 5 extensions. It was a complete deception. We, of course, were and are concerned about the possibility of Ukraine being drawn into NATO, since this threatens our security. That's what I said. But the immediate trigger was the complete refusal of current Ukrainian authorities to implement the Minsk agreements and end the ongoing attack with numerous casualties on the Donbass republics, the Lugansk People's Republic and the Donetsk People's Republic. We did not recognize these republics for 8 years, but they ultimately turned to us, requesting recognition as they faced slim prospects of resolving issues within the framework of the Minsk agreements. We recognized them, then made an agreement with them, known as the Friendship and Mutual Assistance Treaty. We fulfilled our obligations under this agreement in accordance with the UN Charter. As I said, we did not start the war, we are only trying to end it. At the first stage, we tried to do this through peaceful means, with the help of the Minsk agreements. As it turned out later, we were fooled here too, because both the former German Chancellor and the former French President admitted and publicly stated that they had no intention of implementing these agreements. They were simply stalling for time to pump up the Ukrainian regime with additional weapons, which they successfully did. The only thing we can regret is that we did not act earlier, believing that we were dealing with decent people.
Mr. Carlson was already facing criticism before the interview took place. Now he is being blamed for allegedly asking too few tough questions. Allegedly, he was too soft with you, and you were very comfortable with him. What do you think? Did you pressure the American journalist with your authority?
I think that Mr. Carlson of yours is a dangerous person. When I say yours, I mean that he is a representative of your profession, journalism. To be honest, I thought that he would behave aggressively and ask these so-called tough questions. I was not only ready for this, I wanted it, because it would give me an opportunity to respond as sharply, which, in my opinion, would give a certain specificity to our entire conversation. But he chose a different tactic. He tried to interrupt me several times. But surprisingly for a Western journalist, he turned out to be patient and listened to my lengthy monologues, especially those related to history. And he didn't give me a reason to do what I was ready for. So, frankly speaking, I did not fully enjoy this interview. But he strictly followed his plan and he fulfilled his plan. It's not for me to judge how meaningful it was in the end, it's just the viewers, listeners, maybe readers of the received material. They must draw their own conclusion.
Right after this interview, there were calls to sanction Tucker Carlson. And in general, there were talks that he might be arrested. Would that even be possible?
Mr. Assange is imprisoned, and almost no one, but his close ones, remember him. That's it. But it is a feature of social consciousness. The news gets forgotten. At least Assange was accused of giving away state secrets, but it's hard to pin such accusations on Mr. Carlson, because he didn't touch upon any secrets. Nevertheless, probably, everything is possible in today's United States. From Mr. Carlson's point of view, this would be sad. I don't envy him, but it's his choice. He knew what he was getting into. But from the point of view of making people around the world realize what a modern liberal democratic dictatorship is, which is vividly represented by United States' current ruling class, it would probably be a good thing. They would then show their true face.
Карлсон сказал, что после интервью, вот как раз чтобы сейчас...
Just to dispel some doubts, Mr. Carlson said that after the interview, you had another conversation. Now everyone is wondering what that conversation was about.
He went through his plan, as I've already said. And that's it. I didn't go beyond this plan. There were some other topics, for example, that I thought were important to talk about. But I didn't throw in additional topics that the journalist did not raise in his conversation with me. Therefore, the question of the demonization of Russia, connected, say, to interethnic incidents, like the Jewish pogroms in the Russian Empire, of course they should have come up during the official part of the interview. But one of the topics that he and I talked about when the cameras were turned off is exactly what the Secretary of State of the United States was talking about. Mr. Blinken has talked about this several times, that his relatives, his great-grandfather, fled Russia from Jewish pogroms. And in different countries of the world, in Europe, in the States, this topic is brought up constantly. I repeat, it is brought up with the aim of demonizing Russia, to show what barbarians, scoundrels and robbers live here. In fact, if you look at what the current Secretary of State said, and look not at political slogans, but at the essence of the problems that were occurring then, much of this becomes clear. For example, in our archives we have this. Mr. Blinken's great-grandfather did leave the Russian Empire. He was born somewhere in the Poltava province and then lived in Kiev and left the city. The question arises,